Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the tarot reading for Kim. In the last episode, we had a closer look at the cup cards in the spread. In this episode, we will interpret the sword cards.
So as usual, I put the sword cards in the middle, and on the left side, we have two people, Queen of Swords and the Knight of Swords. So the Queen of Swords is an intelligent woman, and the Knight of Swords is an intelligent younger man, like 25 to 35, with little experience. Very smart, intelligent, but he doesn't have as much experience as an elder man who would have been represented by a King of Swords.
Right.
Okay, so these two cards are auspicious, means they represent people who will help you. Okay.
Yes.
And you need to figure out who they are. So as usual, Swords is a airy triplicity, so it could be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius.
Okay. I'll have to
What's
think
your son
about
again?
that.
Libra?
Pardon me?
Your son.
Yes, he's Libra.
Okay. Remember in the last reading, we had these three cards, the Knight of Cups, the Six of Cups, which was decision, and what was the other one? I forgot.
The Knight of Cups. The Knight of Cups. We were trying to figure out who that was.
Yeah, and
then
from the way the cards, these three cards, they indicated somehow your struggle with your son.
Yeah.
That he helped bring about your challenge, and you made a decision, you had to distance yourself from your son for the time being in order to meet your challenge, overcome your challenge. Right?
Yeah.
It was a pretty clear message of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we were wondering why it was a Knight of Cups, because your son is Libra, so it should be a Knight of Swords. And I did some digging, and I found that your son is Libra in the third decade. So each zodiac has 3 decades or 3 parts. Should be 3 times 30 degrees if I don't make a mistake. And he's in the last decade. So he's very close to Scorpio, which is the next zodiac. Okay. So, and if you're in the third decade, you always have attributes and characteristics of the next zodiac. So your son, because he's in the third decade of Libra, he has some Scorpio characteristics. Okay. So that he is represented by the Knight of Cups is a reasonable assumption, because he's so close to Scorpion, which is a water sign.
Right.
And I believe the deck represented your son by the inauspicious Knight of Cups, because it wanted to reserve the Knight of Swords for another person. And you need to figure out who that is.
The Knight of Cups.
The Knight of Swords. The Knight of Cups is your son.
Yeah.
Which is pretty clear now, since I found out he's in the third triplicity of Libra, which is neighboring Scorpio. Here we have an auspicious Knight of Swords, a younger man, very smart, intelligent, and probably very literate and very educated, who will help you.
Can it be a female too?
Sorry?
Can it be a female?
No, the Knight is a male, but above that you have a Queen of Swords as well, which is a female. So there are 2 people already available or ready to help you, which are both very smart and intelligent people.
I pulled the Queen of Swords this week.
You pulled it?
Yeah.
Okay, any idea who it is?
I felt like it was me.
No, you're the Queen of Cups.
Yeah, Queen of Swords.
I was wondering if it's maybe one of the ladies in your group.
Yeah, could be. Could be. There's 2 therapists, and they're all, really pretty insightful. Is this more likely someone that has been around, or somebody new?
I can't say. But they are auspicious, so it means these are 2 people who can help you and which are ready to help you. So they must be present now. or
Okay.
are about to be present. The reading was like 4 weeks ago. So these two people should already be present.
What's Virgo?
Virgo is the hermit. It's earthy. So Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius.
Well, my daughter-in-law is a Libra.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, maybe it's one is your doctor. I don't know, the CLL specialist.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of impressions did he make on you?
She was a woman, and she
Oh,
was kind of cold and clinical, but
that sounds like swords.
yeah, she was the swords. Yeah, she
Okay.
definitely was.
So was she helpful? I mean, can she help you in any way?
Well, I'm sure it will. All my test results are not in yet. I did
Mhm.
send them a message this week about some of the results, but I didn't realize there's still a lot that haven't come in yet.
Mm.
Um, she was cold and clinical. Maybe that's what I needed. I don't know, just to
Mm.
calm down, because there are cases of CLL that are a lot more, intense than mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just in the beginning, so she's got a lot of people that are in really bad shape. So
Mm.
that's probably where that came from.
Mm.
But
But I know you're Pisces, you're sensitive, you're a feely person. Don't worry about the cold and clinical. Maybe she's the best. That's
yeah,
the best person for you to help you,
yeah,
especially because you are not sophisticated on the intellectual level, on the level
yeah.
of swords. So maybe that's exactly what you need, although you don't like it.
Well, I respect it, because I worked with, I'm a nurse, so I worked with
Hmm.
a lot of doctors, and I know, you know, that's their personality a lot of times, because they're so intellectual, and, it's hard for them to explain what they know to a person that's not, up to their knowledge level. So
Mm.
I understand that.
Remember, before I said the spiritual cards will help you to have an intentional, forceful approach in tackling your challenge, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
sword cards are the intelligent cards who will actually execute and solve all the problems on your way.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here I have very good news for you, because there are 4 sword cards here, which are all auspicious. So they will help you. These are 4 key forces or powers of consciousness, intelligent powers of consciousness that will help you meet your challenge. And on top, we have the 3 of Swords, which we already discussed. Yeah, it's a context, understanding your situation, understanding the context of the CLL, and staying within that context. Yeah, so focusing whatever you learn, whatever you understand, you apply that to your context, which is conquering the CLL.
Yes.
Okay.
And
And
the first two swords that you just mentioned, they're in the severity pillar, right?
yes,
Okay.
and severity means you need to understand how things work. The world in which we live in is run by certain laws, and these laws are severe. And you need to
Yeah.
use these laws or comply to these laws, otherwise you will fail. And that's why it's called severe, not because they are against you or they want to harm you or something. They're severe because they cannot be changed. Laws cannot
They're
be
not fooling. They're not
laws can
fooling
only be
around.
used.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next one then is the Ace of Swords, which is a very powerful card. Because behind it is the highest Sephira, which is intention. And the title of that card is Venture. The meaning of this card is that you should consider this challenge you're facing as a venture. Why? Because remember,
Right.
we are here on the spiritual plane. You're supposed to nurture your spiritual plane, and now you got this challenge is being put on your shoulders, and now you should tackle it. And as you
Mm-hmm.
tackle it, you will grow, spiritually, creatively, intellectually, and physically. Again, you should tackle that with the right spirit, which is you're going on a venture.
Okay.
Okay, so no negativity, no beating your chest. You're going on a venture or an adventure. So you need to keep the spirit high.
Okay.
And I think you already realized this a bit, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
definitely.
Good. Then you have another very powerful sword card here, which is the Two of Swords. And this stands for wisdom on the intellectual plane. The key word here is principles. And it means that you should always keep the principles in mind and act according to principles. So once you understand the principles of your challenge, you stick to those principles. And you don't care about anything else but these principles.
Stay on task.
Yeah, and stay on the path. Yeah. So sticking to principles is professionalism.
Right.
So if people are not professional, it means they're doing stupid things. And why do they do stupid things? Because they lost the sight of the right business principles that we should always follow. So principles calls for professionalism. So you need to be a professional patient. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So in these principles, you need to find out what are the proper principles of this context of the challenge. So, for example, okay, my blood is overloaded with useless lymphocytes. So that means I lack energy. Yeah, so that's one of the principles of the illness. So I need to do everything I can in order to preserve my energy. For example,
Right.
eat healthy food, breathe fresh air, sleep enough, and all these things.
Okay.
As you can see, you have the first three sword cards in the spread, and they're all three auspicious. This is very good news because these are the three most powerful forces on the intellectual plane. All you have to do is use them.
And they're over in the not the severe side.
The Ace of Swords is in the middle pillar, which is the pillar
The
of
moderate.
moderation or balance. The Two of Swords is on the merciful side, or on the graceful side, but let's say like that. And then we have also the Nine of Swords, which is also on the middle pillar, a balancing Sophia or a balancing force. And that's the last card we need to discuss today. So the nines, all the four nines, Nine of Wands, Nine of Cups, Nine of Swords, and Nine of Pentacles, they all have to do with energy.
Okay.
So the Nine of Swords is energy on the intellectual level. And the name of the card is Industriousness.
And that's the Nine of Swords.
Yep.
It's funny how the meanings are different. Like that person is just sitting in bed, just worrying, and it's the opposite of what they should be doing.
Yep. So the Nine of Swords and the title Industriousness indicate that you need to tackle your challenge and make a plan, execute the plan, pursue goals, all these things. And I believe you are an industrious person.
Yeah, I can be.
Yeah, you can be. Yeah. So you said last time you really like to pursue goals. Yeah, and
I do.
yeah, and that's industriousness.
Yes.
Okay, so you already have a grip on this power, and you should just keep using it. Try to be industrious, try to pursue your goals, follow the right principles, understand everything about the illness that you can find out, feel it's like an adventure, a spiritual adventure that will take your soul to the next level. And it's very important that you keep your intellectual energy up, that you don't waste it. And the main thing that will waste your intellectual energy is negativity. So stay away from all negative thoughts.
Dealing with my son, I've had to just cut it off because, and I try to explain to him, everything you say is negative. There's, and anything, I don't know what you want me to do about it, because anything I say, you have an argument why it's no good. You won't make a goal, you won't make a plan. So there's just nothing I can do until you decide to start somewhere with baby steps with a plan. I can't work like that.
Yeah, you should not only refuse to think negatively, you should also distance yourself from any negativity from other people.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now.
Because you really need this intellectual energy in order to execute your plan.
Yeah, I totally agree.
One more thought came to me about when we talked about your son. You know, the sickness, the CLL. What is the CLL basically? The CLL is a overabundance of lymphocytes, which are antibodies, right? That fight
They fight
infection.
infection.
Yes. So what is the spiritual or rather intellectual counterpart of that sickness? If we take that to the intellectual level, this would compare to an overabundance of protective but useless thoughts.
Right.
You understand where I'm going with this?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
so your son stands for the CLL, but on the intellectual level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's harming your mind, and is trying to defend itself against your son, but because it took such a long time, or you were exposed to it for so many years, that your intellectual immune system actually is also compromised.
Yeah, and my overabundance of trying to protect him has harmed him and myself too, from even another perspective.
Okay, so you see the parallel?
Yes, makes a lot of sense.
You made a very valuable decision to protect yourself from him, to stay away from him for the time being. This may already positively impact your CLL.
Yeah, and him too. I mean, in the long run.
So that's now you using the severity side of the tree, because you have been maybe too lenient with your son or too indulgent with your son. And now in order to balance you need to use the severity side of the tree of life, of your tree of life.
Yep. Well, it makes a lot of sense.
Shall we call it a day?
Okay.
Yeah. So then next week we will look at the Pentacle cards. And these are the remaining cards we haven't looked at yet.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Yes, you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of the Enlightenment Tarot. I hope you discovered an inspiration or two. Please help to spread the light with a like and a share. And don't forget to subscribe. Love and light.